At dawn on the morning of the 6th of June, 1944, 225 Rangers jumped off the British landing craft and ran to the bottom of these cliffs. Their mission was one of the most difficult and daring of the invasion: to climb these sheer and desolate cliffs and take out the enemy guns. The Rangers looked up and saw the enemy soldiers at the edge of the cliffs shooting down at them with machine guns and throwing grenades. And the American Rangers began to climb. When one Ranger fell, another would take his place. When one rope was cut, a Ranger would grab another and begin his climb again. They climbed, shot back, and held their footing. Soon, one by one, the Rangers pulled themselves over the top, and in seizing the firm land at the top of these cliffs, they began to seize back the continent of Europe.
The teamwork and determination displayed on that fateful day at Pointe du Hoc not only demonstrates the best of the United States Army, but it also represents our mission at the Association of the United States Army. Soldiers supporting soldiers. For almost 75 years, AUSA has served soldiers, providing a voice for the Army, and celebrated those who have helped the Army community. We've experienced tremendous growth and are now over 1 million members strong and growing. We continue to provide essential services to soldiers, civilians, retirees, veterans, and family members. We engage with the Army, Congress, industry partners, and communities across the globe. And we work to advance national security and promote greater recognition of the Army's vital role in American life. But we're not stopping there. We're evolving the way we educate, inform, and connect America to the Army. We're developing our Center for Leadership to inspire Army leaders. We're investing in our Army communities with a broader membership reach. And we're building stronger links between generations to support the Army's critical needs. As we charted AUSA's path for the future, we realized we needed a new symbol to represent what we do. A logo inspired by the significance of the soldier experience and the Army story. A logo inspired by our focus on people. Because, as General Creighton Abrams said, people aren't in the Army. They are the Army. A logo inspired by the achievements of those brave soldiers at Pointe du Hoc on that fateful day in 1944. This is that emblem. AUSA. It takes a team. Soldiers, families, civilians, retirees, veterans, industry, and you.
The Association of the United States Army is pleased to welcome you to AUSA's Noon Report webinar series. This webinar series features presentations by senior Army leaders responsible for key programs and initiatives. It also features contemporary military authors who weave together the past, present, and future story of the United States Army. Kicking off today's webinar is Lieutenant General Retired Patricia McQuistion, an AUSA Senior Fellow.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Association of the United States Army's Noon Report. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. We appreciate your support as partners in the defense of our nation. Joining us today are Major General Johnny K. Davis, Commanding General, U.S. Army Recruiting Command, and Brigadier General Antoinette R. Gant, Chief Army Enterprise Marketing Office. Please take advantage of having Generals Davis and Gant here to ask questions. You can use the Q&A tab on the right side of your screen to submit a question. After the discussion, we will take as many questions as possible. I'll give a short intro, but you can find the full bios for Major General Davis and Brigadier General Gant in the handout tab. Major General Johnny Davis was commissioned from New Mexico Military Institute in 1989, and he has a Bachelor of Science from Cardinal Stritch University. His stateside assignments have included aide to the Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and Joint Staff J8 Capabilities Officer, aide to the Army Vice Chief of Staff at U.S. Army Futures Command, and Commanding General at U.S. Army Cadet Command. His deployments include Operations Southern Watch, Iraqi Freedom, Enduring Freedom, and New Dawn. Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. We also have Brigadier General Antoinette Gant. She has a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Prairie View A&M University, a Master of Science in Engineer Management from Missouri University of Science and Technology, and a Master of Science in National Resource Strategy from the National Defense University. Stateside, she has served as Division Commander, South Pacific Division, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Commander, South Pacific Border District, Military Assistant to the Assistant Secretary of the Army Civil Works, and Chief of Operations for the Engineer Directorate, U.S. Army South. Her deployments include Operation Iraqi Freedom, Enduring Freedom, and Freedom Sentinel. Welcome, General Gant.
Thank you, ma'am. It's great to be here.
It is so good to have you both here on a hugely important topic for the Army and our nation.
Yes, ma'am.
So let me start by saying congratulations to you for your nomination for your 3rd star. I think that, as much as anything, tells you how important recruiting is to the Army, and congratulations to you.
Yeah, thank
Absolutely deserving of that. So I'm going to start by asking you, we are about a week out now.
We are.
From the end of both the fiscal year and the recruiting year. So it seems like there's a lot of positive momentum. How have you got that, and how's the outlook?
So, ma'am, there is a lot of positive momentum, and you should be proud of all of the great work by our young recruiters and all of the soldiers and civilians that work at United States Army Recruiting Command. All 13,000, including those who supported us from ForceCom and other units across the Army. It's been an all of Army approach, and that's why I think we're really starting to see wonderful momentum, of course, for this fiscal year. And I don't want to get ahead of the Secretary of the Army, who's going to make an announcement here very soon.
Good.
But our Army is a really good place for fiscal year 24.
Very good. Well, I just want you to know I live down around the Richmond, Virginia area, and we're trying to very much adopt that recruiting battalion down there. So they are good people. They're good people. General Gant, so Army Enterprise Marketing Office, that has been around about 5 years now.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us a little bit about it, how you're structured, and tell us about your command?
Absolutely. So in 2019, the Army Enterprise Marketing Office was stood up. And what you have is a group of officers who became functional Area 58, which is behavioral economics and marketing. So these individuals have actually gone and gotten a master's degree in some form of business and marketing to understand what that nuance is. Okay. And so now we've put all of that together along with a few civilians as well. And we have 3 major directorates that we actually have: our strategy, innovation, and data. This is what gives us the information to tell us how our Gen Z population is doing, the things that allow them to want to consider Army as a consideration. And then we have our marketing execution branch, which is the one where most people think about the commercials. But of course, marketing execution is much more than that. It's our national media, as well as our GoArmy.com website, and our social media platform. And our newest office is our regional marketing office, which is designed to be able to work with our brigades in recruiting command as well as cadet command to structure a marketing strategy that in line with our national strategy to ensure that they're bringing awareness and having the best opportunity they can to bring in the best and brightest to our Army.
Nice. Okay. And you have 5 regional offices?
We have 5 regional offices still in progress right now. We actually have the one that's in the West and we have one in the Midwest, but rest of the other offices are being utilized in Chicago, what a better place to be, right, in Chicago. But we are doing satellite services to the various regions.
Very good. And so the realignment of Army Recruiting Command, too.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. That sounds
so
really
it's
exciting.
exciting. It's part of the Secretary's transformational efforts to look at the entire recruiting enterprise and understand where we can transform and move forward instead of doing the same things we've done for years. And one of those initiatives is certainly to look at the enterprise as a whole and try to keep it as a synchronized one entity. So you have Recruiting Command, and you have Cadet Command, and you have Army Marketing Office, and a first for this command, soon to be stood up, Innovation Directorate as well.
I saw that. A commanding or deputy? You have a deputy for innovation as well?
Deputy, a senior executive, SES one, who are, it's just unbelievable to see the change that's unfolding right now across the recruiting landscape. But all in all, it's to really bring the entire team together so we can fuse, we can synchronize, we can coordinate together, and then everything we do is really focused on not only our recruiters, but our applicants as well. From marketing, advertising, prospecting, you name it, it's all one force.
And new components too in the training of and generation of new MOS warrant officers.
Yes,
just first class graduated.
That's right.
Yeah.
First cohort of 420 tangles or recruiting warrant officers have graduated, and they are already across, about 25 of them are already distributed across every brigade and certain battalions, and of course in the training base, so we can train the next cohort of warrant officers. So cohort 2 is in training right now. We've already identified cohort 3. This train is moving in a positive direction, and the feedback from our warrant officers is really driving everything we do. Because think about it, a warrant officer is that subject matter expert, and so if you put that subject matter expert inside of a sessions field, then they can provide guidance and recommendations to the officers or the commanders, and also the future force of 442 Tango, which is another historic transformational change we're looking at, so that we're not going back to the Army and saying, hey, let's look at another department of the Army select recruiter. That means, a young staff sergeant or sergeant who's in the 101st is just going to get notified that they have recruiting duty. Well, let's try to get away from that, and let's create a professionalized force. So all of these efforts, I can go on and on, but I'll stop right there. Ma'am, it's very historic what we're seeing on the ground.
It's very exciting. You have to be very energized just by the thought of all the innovation that is going on and what's yet to come.
Yes.
So how important has the shift been to synchronize the recruiting, the marketing, and the advertising, pulling it all together? How is that?
Well, I would say, being able to actually have the research and intel under the same roof and understanding it the same, providing the information where everybody is getting the same information. That has been huge. There are things that we're learning from the recruiter standpoint that we didn't have before. And they're also learning from a perspective of the data that we're receiving. And to be able to actually nest those two together, it has made a significant difference in how we've actually established the marketing plan as we execute for this year.
Okay. I can't imagine how you're even selecting the candidates. It must be a pretty rigorous selection process.
It is a very rigorous selection process, and I would tell
self-selection too.
Yes,
so, yeah.
And so many have applied. We're not, for maybe 25 open positions, we have 200 or 300 apply for these, and it's just wonderful to see the response from the force to really help out in the recruiting organization.
Army helping the Army.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So we have talked a little bit about the expanding market. So we know that the Generation Z, the population's going down. The population of 18-year-olds is going down from, 9.5 million now to in 4 years, maybe 8 million U.S. 18-year-olds as kind of the bottom of the recruiting population. So I know that the Army's looking at the expanded market. Could you explain what that means to both of you?
Yeah, I'll start, and Tony will jump in it, because there's a lot of great work happening right now. Ma'am, you're absolutely right. The high school market that we're used to our recruiters focusing on in terms of an applicant pool is shrinking. So we're going to have to expand. We're going to have to understand where the market is and then transform to that market. And to expand the market for us, it's more not only the high school market, but let's really focus on the some college and the college market. But more importantly, let's look at the labor market. Let's look at those who are in that age group between 19 to 27, 28 years old. Those who are established, who are out of school, we really want them to consider service into the United States Army and some of the opportunities.
250 different
Oh,
military
yes, ma'am.
MOSs and the civilian. I do want to talk to you a little bit later about the civilian advertising campaign that's getting underway as well. But for you, the expanded market.
Absolutely. When the Secretary announced last year that she wanted us to be able to look at what the expanded market looked like, and by 2028 that we actually be at 33%, like, okay, what are we finding right now? And one of the things that we found that right now that the individuals that we're recruiting, the average age is 22 years old.
Is that right?
So knowing that already about 14% of what we're actually bringing into the Army is that it's like, where else can you find an opportunity to be able to do what you may have thought you wanted to do as a civilian, but do it in the Army and then come out with even better skill sets so that you could offer those to your community as wherever you are. We talk about purpose, passion, community, and connection. And these are all the things that the Army actually brings to an individual that is interested in being a part of something bigger than themselves. And we're finding that that age group is really looking for that. And we have it right here in the Army.
Nice.
And man, what's interesting is, and Tony's absolutely right, that age group is, it was 22. Now it's going up every year. And that's a great thing. So now we're seeing a more mature applicant pool who are considering service in the United States Army. And that's exciting. And what we have to do is really understand how to connect with them.
I'm just thinking about TRADOC and the impact on TRADOC training bases as you get a more and more mature.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think it helps to meet the demand of 2030 because, of course, we're always looking at the future of what does our Army actually look like. And another proposition also is sometimes we always say, what do we bring? What do those more, I call them experienced individuals, bring to us from a standpoint of what they've learned out in the community to help us to even be better?
Yes, it's great. That's a great way to think about it. Okay, so I came in the Army under Be All You Can Be. You want to talk about the return to Be All You Can? But I also remember the previous ones too. What's going on with Be All You Can Be and what's next?
So I always hear, well, we're so happy that Be All You Can Be is back. And actually, it was a theme of which resonated not with just those who had served, but also those who wanted to serve. And doing our market research, there were several things that were actually put out in for people to consider. And that was the one that came back and says, hey, it resonates across the board.
I would think with influencers as well.
Absolutely. Yes. And what we continue to say is this is something that no matter where you are in your lifespan, you can think about Be All You Can Be and say, yes, this is something that I have strived to do, or this is something that I'm actually doing. In August of last year, after the Be All You Can Be launch, we launched our first steps, which is the initial commercials. And it talked about the beginning of coming into the Army, the first steps of actually starting a new career. And just this August, we launched our second iteration of First Steps, which is more targeted toward the expanded audience. Okay, you've been out, you've seen some things that you could actually do, but how could you expand that even more by being of service with the Army? So it's really, really exciting.
All right. So we have a question up here for what initiatives has the Army rolled out this year relating to what we were talking about, the recruiting innovation?
Yes, ma'am. Again, very historic. First time we really, from a recruiting standpoint, stood up an innovation or experimentation really directed to look at how we, prospect, process, and really manage our applicants in the future. Now there's a number of innovation initiatives that we're looking at. Well, let me tell you one that we're working on. It's
Okay.
exciting.
All right.
So it's Recruit 360. It's an ability to provide a more refined prospect list or applicant list to a recruiter that's highly refined based off of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Yes, I know it's very interesting. So there's a vendor that we're working with that is actually helping us comb through over 30 million potential applicant files, and then based on 1,700 different variables, they've been able to help the recruiters in 5 potential experimental cities that
Okay.
we've selected. So 5 companies.
Okay.
This is going on right now. And then based on the list, now it's been in the works for about 2 months, but I will tell you, it's changing the way we do business and the way our recruiters connect. Instead of taking a high school list and just cold calling, of course, that's the same way that they called me.
Right.
Let's get away from that and let's refine this using AI so that those that we do call show propensity and show interest in service to the nation. And so
That's got to be so good for recruiters.
they love it.
Cold calls are so hard.
Yes, I know. Anytime you want to sit there with a list, it's not fun for anybody, and it just eats up a lot of time, and it can weigh on the recruiter.
Exactly.
Now let's provide them something a little bit better using
path.
artificial intelligence. It is 2024. Let's do this.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. In addition to that, so that's one of the great things about the merger with us under the recruiting command, because we already had an innovation cell. So now we are able to actually work hand in hand. One of the other things that has been done back in May, we actually launched our GoArmy.com website. And it is no longer the antiquated system of what it was previously. It is now in the cloud. It provides a better user experience, and it has very touch systems in there where a prospect could actually write in a question. If they want to text, they can actually text an individual, a recruiter, or our center to be able to ask them a question in regards to their journey. And if they want someone to actually call them back. So having these things to work hand in hand together, I think has allowed us so much more synergy, so much more energy in actually being able to touch and truly connect with our prospect audience.
Great. Oh, so we have a question from Zachary. So how open are the Recruiting Command and the Marketing Office to partnering with private sector organizations also aligned or bolstering these efforts? So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
And what I would add is absolutely. We want to do, things differently. We want to transform. We want to see what works and what doesn't work. And that's so very important. I know that we are approached every week by, companies, industry, you name it, who are very interested, and we're interested to listen to them. And like I said, we are all in. And Tony, I know, has worked on this as well. Tony, anything you want to add?
No, sir, you're right, spot on. We are always looking for new and innovative ideas to be able to bring into our recruiting environment. So, and we have a means to be able to do that. So just let us know, and we'll connect you with the right individual to be able to talk about it.
Well, PACE program, you still
That's
that's
right.
still
Absolutely. PACE
partnering for
program.
youth
Absolutely.
success.
Yep.
Plus, you have there is a program now for training with industry or some kind of
TW, that's right, ma'am. Matter of fact, our first cohort of 42 tangos is currently training with industry with the top companies right now. They just really started less than a month ago.
Yes.
So we'll know the outcomes of that when they return. But right now, the feedback from them, and they're with the top companies in the nation without going into all the details, but they love it.
Good. And they'll bring back so many
Yes,
good
ma'am.
ideas,
Absolutely.
but they're also
Exactly.
giving so many good ideas
That's right.
for those companies.
That's right.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Do recruiters volunteer for the position, or is this a selection direction that one will be a recruiter? You talked a little bit about that, but Harold would like to hear more.
Yeah, so both. We still have the Department of the Army Select Recruiter program, but we've also, based on our communication with Human Resources Command, we want it to be a more volunteer effort. When we opened it up to volunteers, and with the incentive to invest in them for volunteering. I think it was from last January, for about a 3-month period, we offered the Army, once you volunteer and complete the program, the Army will offer a $5,000 bonus for that young superstar that volunteered for recruiting. We had overwhelmingly thousands of soldiers come forward to volunteer, and so we filled our seats very quickly. And of course, that incentive, what I think was turned off last April, but because of that we've learned to keep the volunteer really pipeline open for the Army, and that's what we've seen a lot more volunteers. And I think because there's a lot of positive momentum, we're seeing some volunteers across the force, and that's exciting. And we can't wait to have you on the team.
Well, good deal. I know this is a very popular question. I'm going to go ahead and ask it now. I was going to wait for the last question, but we'll ask it now. So Bob wants to know, how can we Army veterans and retirees and civilians as well help in the recruiting efforts, and associations like Association of the United States Army and NDIA and all of those other associations out there that really exist to support the Army?
What I would offer, and thanks, ma'am, what I would offer is, please don't do anything more than what you're doing now. Just tell your, Army story. You've served many years. You've been an example. You have opened the doors for, young cadets like me to achieve this, life, accelerate and success. So I just want to say, continue to share your story. You'll know those applicants when you, or those potential candidates, when you see them. Just stop and listen to them. Never underestimate your impact you're going to have on these young adults as they look to the future. I was one of them, and I listened to a veteran, and that veteran, based on answering my questions, convinced me my path to, in America was to serve in the United States Army.
And we found that the number one person in a individual's life is an influencer. And that's what you are as a veteran. You have been able to actually show how you have served. You can give your story, as General Davis has said, to allow them to see what it has done for you and what it could actually do for them. And so we are even looking more at the data of how can we understand more about our influencers to help them to be able to give them even more insight to be able to talk with prospects as well.
So I read in some of the literature, making the Army an irresistible career choice for America's most talented.
Absolutely.
How did you come up with that?
Oh, we are the oldest institution in the United States.
Coming up on 250 years.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
What better place could you actually learn the skill sets that you would need to help you, not while you're just in the Army, but when you actually decide to transition, regardless if you stay for 2 years, 5 years, 20 years, or 30 years, like General Davis and others, you have something of value to our United States that you actually offer. And that's how that's come about.
Nice. It's a great aspirational statement.
Absolutely.
For your mission statement. Good deal. I did say that I was going to ask you about civilian recruiting.
Thank you.
So many different opportunities as an Army civilian. Oh, how do you get your arms around all of that, and what are you doing?
200 different career fields within our civilian campaign. And what we've understood is that we talk a lot about our enlisted and our officers, but we never talk about our civilian workforce. Our Department of Army civilians are a key part of what it is that we actually do and have been for so many years. And so this is an opportunity to be able, it's called Find Your Next Level. And this is an opportunity for us. We have a commercial, have two commercials, as a matter of fact, that are on streaming platforms to be able to talk about what it's like to serve as a civilian within the Army.
Am I too old to apply?
Oh, no, ma'am.
Oh, yes, I am. Speaking about how old I am, how's recruiting changed for the past 10, 20 years?
Yeah, ma'am. Thanks. That's a great
Yeah.
question. So recruiting is still.
Christina asked it. So,
Christina, recruiting is still recruiting, and that has really not changed. What we have done is we've listened to the force, and based on the force and the current environment, we've been able to transform and make things a lot easier for our recruiters to connect with the audience and our applicants out there, and be more open and transparent. And I would tell you, if there's one thing that I think is very what has changed over the last 10 or 20, there's wherever you go, you can go to goarmy.com. You can call or visit a recruiting station, and everything you'll see will be open and transparent. There's no hidden MOSs out there. What's available is available. Everything you see in terms of bonus, incentives, GI Bill, college loan repayment, you'll see it all right there. And I think that's what we've done. So that's one area that I think is really changed. The other thing is we've listened to the recruiters and changed the way we do business within internally. So in terms of, how we prospect, let's use more artificial intelligence. How we incentivize and invest in our recruiting force, well, let's change the way we train, and let's involve the families. That's one of the biggest things we've changed. Is as part of the recruiting course, we've extended it 2 more weeks, and we've added what we call a family week, focused on how do you transition as a young superstar sergeant or staff sergeant from, again, the 101st Airborne or 82nd or 1st Cav, and then you go from post that has all of military treatment facility, the commissary, everything you need, and you go from there, and we're asking you to move with your family to Watertown, Wisconsin. Now, I think I'm from Wisconsin, so Wisconsin's a beautiful state. But I give you that idea of what we're trying to do, and that we're witnessing some great success listening to the recruiters, and the families love it. And we're trying to help the recruiters land where they want to recruit with their families. And guess what? If the family really wants to land in a certain place, whether it's hometown or wherever, and they are excited to be included in the process, well, guess what? The Army benefits. And so that's some of the things that we're seeing to change. And we're open to any suggestion, because I think the door is open to really transforming and making it better for these recruiters and their families. Anything you want to?
No, sir, you're absolutely right. We have found that recruiters are very excited about being in locations where they feel that they have a connection to. And as I mentioned before, about they have a purpose, they have a passion about doing it, they're connected to the community, and then there's a connection there as well. So for them to be able to do that, then they can be able to talk about that same element as they're talking to prospects in regards to them wanting to become a member of the Army.
it's a hard job. So anything you can do to help them be successful in it is a good thing. So how do you feel about having that close association with Cadet Command again?
I love it. I love it. Yeah, because, first of all, having served in Cadet Command, now I understand how important it is for what we do on the college campuses, also at, community colleges, any college where we have our, professors of military science in their teams. In addition to the recruiting stations, sometimes they are less than, a mile away. So that being said, hey, why aren't we doing more? And I think we do have a memorandum of record that or understanding between the both commands to start working and opening the door for each other. I think that's very helpful. But we're going to take it a step further and fuse not only what we're doing in recruiting, what we're doing on a college campus. We brought in about 400 or 500 lieutenants who are newly commissioned and have done their first duty station, and they're helping us open those doors with the ROTC, programs to look at the college market on the campus. And so this has been very helpful, and we got some superstar lieutenants who are just crushing it out there. But that's really opened the door for our recruiters, and that's very important.
Good deal. Scott, I hope that answered your question. We'll go on to Michaela. Since you've been in command of your organizations, what are the biggest differences or challenges leading your respective organizations compared to other leadership positions across the Army that you've held? We'll start with that.
Tony, you want to?
They are pretty unique.
Yeah,
As we were talking a little bit before we kicked off this session about how the Army has a great way of sending you to jobs
Yes, absolutely.
where you can
Because
do nothing but
your
grow.
command is so
You know,
wonderful.
as I look at this command and being an engineer and having served as an engineer command, I say both are about problem solving. There are different sets of problems, but there's still problems that need to actually be solved. So having an opportunity to be able to look at the problems in a different manner and then figure out the right aspects of how to actually deal with them has been probably one of the most challenging opportunities that we've had. I always say challenges are nothing more than opportunities, and it's opportunities for success. And so we have found a means and method to be able to really look at that. Again, I go back to the synergy with our recruiting command as well as cadet command, because we are working with them as well to develop these regional marketing plans, but bringing awareness to what the Army brings, whether you want to be an officer, whether you want to be enlisted, or either you want to be a civilian. But these are very hard challenges to actually have, but have bring about great opportunity for us to be successful in.
And ma'am, if I can add, and Tony, that's absolutely correct. What we've really learned is coming together as one family, then you find out where the problems are. And that's really helped us align our efforts and find solutions. Just like Tony mentioned, if we are, I talked about it earlier, the linkage between our ROTC, our officer programs, and the recruiting stations, which may be a mile away. If there's a gap in communication, now that we're one family, maybe we can close that gap and really help process this, moving forward, so that we're all really, speaking with one voice. So that's just one example, but we see this every day. I mean, we talk and we find out that there's some areas that, we got to fix that area as well. But that's exciting, and why I think it's all coming together.
Okay. So Vince wants to know, I understand that this new and improved USAREC will be fitting into the Department of the Army to do so as its own direct reporting. Oh, its own direct reporting unit. Sorry. So what are your insights about the desired end state to that transformation?
Well, it's exciting. And what I would add is, as a direct reporting unit, it's just that. So we report directly to the headquarters DA staff, or the Secretary of the Army and the Chief of Staff of the Army. And I will tell you, it's been exciting. Never thought throughout my career that I was serving a command that it's not a week that goes by that I'm not communicating with the Secretary of the Army, Chief of Staff of the Army, Vice Chief of Staff of the Army, or Undersecretary of the Army, or the Director. You name it. I think I'm part of the headquarters DA family, and that's exciting. But more importantly, they can understand what the recruiters need on the ground, and then I can communicate that directly with our Army senior leaders. And I think being a direct reporting unit, that's the main takeaway, is that the voice of our recruiters on the ground are heard directly by our Army senior leaders. And so I think that's the most powerful takeaway from a direct report unit.
All right, General Gant, you now fall under, is that official, or when's the?
Yes.
It is official now. Okay. Fall under U.S. Army Recruiting Command. How's that transition been?
It's actually been very good. Again, I go back to the fact that now we're looking at research and intel all in the same vein, right, together. But one of the great things that I'll talk about is, we know that our marketing is to help the recruiters on the ground. And just recently, we established a dashboard where the battalion commanders and the battalion sergeant majors can be able to look at it to determine what areas are doing well, what areas are not doing well, and therefore develop their strategy at the local level to be able to support their efforts of what they're trying to do. And we've rolled it out. We're still in the process of ensuring that all the brigades understand how to actually utilize it. But the success of what we've hearing so far is this has been a game changer for them in being able to really direct how they want recruiting to happen in their particular locations.
Very good. Well, talking about game changers, the Future Army Preparatory Course.
Oh, it's transformation.
Yeah, Future Soldier, I'm sorry. Future Soldier. Yeah. So in a couple of, it's been up for a couple of years now, since
yes, ma'am.
2022, I think.
2022.
And about, I read probably in the AUSA article, 20% of recruits are.
Yeah, about 27,000 graduates in the
Wow.
last 2 years. Both, there's two different portions of it. There's your academic,
Mhm.
and then there's the physical. We know that the propensity and those who qualified are decreasing. What we want to do as an Army is invest in this applicant pool. We know that test scores went down by a small margin after
During
COVID.
COVID years.
That's right.
Yes.
And so they may have fell below the line. So what we've done is, hey, let's invest in this this applicant pool, and it has turned out to be the best decision. Now the other services are following suit as well and starting their future prep courses. But we are really seeing wonderful success from the academic side, about 93% success.
Great.
And from the physical, about 95% success rate. From academic, between 15 and 20 point difference within 2 or 3 weeks, testing wise, up. That's wonderful.
That is great. I mean,
It
the
is very
potential
good.
is
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
You're just
Absolutely.
realizing the potential.
That's right.
And they're realizing their potential. That's wonderful. How do the recruiters maintain contact while they're in this? Do the recruiters maintain contact with folks,
Some-
or are they over in the TRADOC side now?
Once they begin that training, the recruiters really turn them over to the drill sergeants. But ma'am, I'll be honest with you, a lot of our recruiters, they still stay in touch with many of their recruits and
I
follow them as they continue on in their Army journeys.
Nice. Very good. Okay, Adam. With Gen Z about to be the largest generation in the workforce, what's being done to update the candidate applicant experience to meet the needs and expectations of Gen Z?
Yeah.
How much more AI do you need?
Well, the first thing that we said, that we have to meet them where they are,
Yes.
to understand what is it that you're actually looking for. And a lot of our advertisement that we actually do, that's the reason why we do it, to be able to show them that what you thought was impossible is actually is possible. Another thing that we're actually doing too is trying to understand what is going to, what is it that you want to do that allows you to be able to reach the best person that you can actually be. And so understanding those are all the things that we're looking at and listening to them, and then bringing that information back to the recruiting force so that we can allow that to be part of our marketing strategy. What we found is a lot has to do with awareness. If you understand and aware what is available to you, then now you have a better opportunity and empower yourself to make the selection for yourself. I recently talked to an individual that was talking about several of the military service. And I said, well, why would you select this, particular service? And they didn't have an answer. It's like, well, that's just what I've been told.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, why don't you have a conversation about each one of the services and what you truly want to do? And then understand where if that service actually can be able to offer that for you. Another example would be a young lady who wanted to be a veterinarian, and she wanted to be a veterinarian in the military. And so after finding out that the Army is a place where you could actually do that, then she actually decided to enlist in the Army. So again, it's about getting them to understand the possibilities of what's open up to them, and therefore they can make the best decision for themselves.
And I think they talk to each other and they listen to
Oh,
each
absolutely.
other.
Oh,
And those are
absolutely.
key influencers.
Yeah.
So new recruits helping the recruiting mission, is that is
Yes. So new recruits. So we have a soldier referral program. It's about 15 or 16 months old,
Okay.
ma'am. And we went to the actual soldiers themselves, the new recruits, says, hey, based on your experience, can you provide a referral, maybe with someone that you serve with at home, or maybe side by side? And that has really, to date, about 75,000 referrals and over 5,000 enlistments. So these are super, historic numbers for a program that we thought would take us a little bit longer to really pick up steam. It is really picking up steam right now. And it's a great program.
I'd listen to my best friend if they told me. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Oh, here's one from Philip. What's the process for a new recruiter to come on board?
So a new recruiter will first of all, report to Fort Knox for the Army Recruiting College. Once they are identified in the unit, we'll assess them. We'll make sure that they we align them with the right duties and location that they want to go to with their families. And then once they report, then they have what's called a training program. Because we just don't want to put somebody from, like I said, the 101st and to Watertown, Wisconsin without, some really training, face-to-face training with recruiters on the ground. So there's going to be a period of time there that helps them transition from being school trained to really operating in an environment. And it's really at the pace of the recruiter. We don't want to rush it, but some of them, man,
want to hit the ground running.
Yeah, some hit the ground, yes. Some hit the ground running, and within a month, we'll have they'll enlist 2 or 3. Some will take a little bit longer, but we don't.
That's okay.
We want it to be right, and we want the sponsorship, and we want all the training to be focused on them, so that when they do really get out there and prospect, it's done right and is standardized across the recruiting force.
Interesting.
But that's a great question.
Yeah. Okay, David wants a discussion about the Innovation Directorate. You talked about your innovation unit. So how is that going to help you with your innovation responsibilities?
Well, we'll expand. I know Tony has an innovation director. Anything you want to add? Because she's really opened the door for us.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as we look at it from a marketing and a sales, that's what we call our recruiting side of the house, the sales port. It's them coming together to be able to understand what is working, what is not working. And already we have a process that's laid out. We work with a marketing agency that helps us to come up with new ideas. And we've also established a system called IdealWorks, where anyone, our recruiters, anyone in the Army can actually funnel up an idea, and we can take it for testing to determine if this is something that we think may be able to work in helping us from an experimentation standpoint on the marketing or the recruiting side of the house. This has to be hand in hand. It's going to work together. And so as it continues to stand up, we just continue to work those ideas, see what's actually working out there. And then if it doesn't work, then we try something else. That's the great thing about innovation. It's an opportunity for us to try something different. And if it doesn't, then you move on to something that you think may continue to process and work.
Great. And Leah's asking about leveraging marketing strategies like events or sports sponsorships. So you've certainly got your toes in the water there.
We do.
How's that working out? Tell us about
it. It's absolutely been amazing. I mean, as part of our marketing strategy with the media buys that we actually do with our marketing agency, they help us to get the best media buys to be able to support it. We've done it, the NCAA for the past 2 years, which has garnered a lot of success, not just from the commercials that they've seen on television, but actually being able to engage on the ground at the Final Four events. We did Frozen Four, which is a hockey. So it's not necessarily about all the basic sports that you actually see, but some of those things that you don't necessarily would think an individual would be involved in. Wrestling. That's another one for our high school that we actually have had marketing opportunities to be able to come and do that. So it's not just sports as well. NBC Universal has offered us the opportunity to actually have the band on The Voice, one of our Army bands on The Voice, and then talk about the experiences of the members of that particular band. So we look at this holistically. We know that it's all different types of individuals that may want to, or not even have considered Army as a career. And now here's an opportunity for them to show them all the different aspects of what you could do.
Yeah, we're listening to industry. We're listening to the workforce. I mean, let's do something different. And that's really what we want to try to move forward. Hey, there's a lot of great ideas out there. It could be from partnerships, you name it. We are really open to listening to all, so that maybe that will be the next future soldier prep course type of transformational success.
Yeah. Great. Okay, Joe. Joe Beese asks, have you considered the Army as a threads starting with being recruited, serving, transitioning out, and then serving as a member of the Guard and Reserve. So you recruit for the U.S. Army Reserve. The National Guard has its own recruiting.
Yes.
But how do you come together? Joe, I'm going to get back to your question in just a minute, but that's a good point.
Yeah, so thanks for that.
Link.
Not only do we get together with our joint or the National Guard, but I think there's another element here that we execute that's really doing very well, and that's our joint partners as well. I think we all need to come together. So our, one team, so that we just came together in Florida about a month ago, ma'am, and it was great to listen to each of the initiatives. We've shared some of our initiatives. They're very excited to, of course, how we're doing with Future Soldier Prep Course, and so they take that back to their service. The National Guard, we talk regularly. Hey, let's make sure that whatever we're doing, we're nested with you, so that because we are one team.
We are.
I was a young college student. I joined the Wisconsin, National Guard. So I have a bit of
experience there.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
And General McQuistion, if I could add to that, in addition for our marketing, as we are marketing for all aspects. So it's in active duty as well as reserve, National Guard, as well as officer and civilian. So the GoArmy.com website, you can actually go to that site and ask any question that you would like, and it would link you to the perspective of what you are considering. If you're considering reserves, then it will actually make sure that we are targeting or providing that information to our reserve recruiters. And the intent, as we're working through the National Guard right now, so they too can have an opportunity to be able to have a link, and they would send it to their National Guard recruiters as well. We would just want you to have an opportunity to serve, because we know how wonderful it is.
Yeah, we do. So Joe also brings in the part about reinforcing the concept of soldier for life. That's still very much in the forefront of our thinking, correct?
That's correct.
And recruiting families and friends, so the Army life cycle. So yeah, Joe, that's just a great way to put it. Any thoughts about just that entire circle? And
well, it's I think we're all one family, whether we're young family members or older family members. What I love is to see the generation now that have, we have our two daughters, one Army, she's in the 10th Mountain, another daughter Marine, and they're at Lejeune. It's just wild to see the next generation really lead us into the future. And that's so exciting. And I think we are, whether we hang up the uniform or not, I'll always be a soldier for life.
There you go. Absolutely. All right. So we've answered all the audience questions. I'm just going to give you an opportunity. Is there anything that we didn't discuss today that you want to just leave us your final thoughts?
Well, tell me anything else.
Well, I thank you again for allowing us to be able to be here today. And again, I think it was a great opportunity for us to talk about the synergy and the transformation of which the Army is actually doing, not just with Army recruiting, meaning recruiting and marketing being put together, but the fact that we understand the importance of what service is all about. And this gives us an opportunity to be able to do that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, ma'am, thank you. It's wonderful connecting with you again.
It's so good to see you.
Time from our cadet command, and you're just wonderful. And I just want to thank everyone. Thank you for your support. This is recruiting has faced some headwinds over the last 2 years, but your support and those that from AUSA and all of our partners and the services have really come together to really help us move the recruitment forward. And I just want to say thanks. It has been hard, but it's been easier because of your 100% unwavering support. And we'll see you soon. I mean, General Gant and I will be at AUSA. Hopefully we'll run into a number of you. I think we're going to sit another type of a panel, a Warriors Corner.
Right.
And we'll be excited to take more questions from you. But this has been an exciting year. And we're excited for what the future will hold for us in terms of transformation and Army recruiting.
Well, thank you for the enthusiasm. It is a tough job, and you make it look wonderfully, not easy, but meaningful. So I appreciate that very much. And I just want you to know, we understand this is a shared responsibility. Yeah. So it's not just on you, it's on all of us, the entire nation. And so give us more things to do when you need us to engage.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Well, General Davis, General Gant, thank you for a great discussion. It's really good to see you. Before we part, I need to inform our viewers of a few upcoming events. You mentioned the AUSA annual meeting. It's scheduled for 14 to 16 October at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center in Washington, D.C., bigger and better than ever. On 13 November, AUSA will host a noon report on long-range precision fires. And then there's a hot topic, 3 December at AUSA headquarters here in the basement. Or downstairs, I mean. AUSA will host a Defense Industrial Base hot topic on 15 January at AUSA headquarters. I hope you can join us for all the upcoming webinars and events. For more information about any of these events or to register, please visit the website at ausa.org. Finally, we thank all of you who support us with your membership. Membership matters. You help us support the Army, and that's a very meaningful mission. Thank you again for attending, and have a great Army Day.